Welcome to Business Notes. I'm your host, Diane Bogino. Our guest today is April Callis-Birchmeier. April is a change management expert and best-selling author who works with organizations to prepare and support their people during process and technology change. When not leading change, April can be found working on the transformation of her 6 children into productive adults, a project that generates a great deal of resistance. April is also an excellent parallel parker, but today April will be helping us to get ready, set, change. April, welcome to Business Notes, and thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you because I love organizational change management. So, and I'd like for you to tell our viewers, what is organizational change management?
Well, I can give you both a technical definition and I can give you an easier to understand definition. Our technical definition comes from the Association of Change Management Professionals. And that technical definition is that change management is the process of moving an organization and its stakeholders from a current state to a future state. That's technical. The more relaxed version, understandable, is that change management is the kind of combination of a few things. It's the combination of business process, redesign and analysis, communication and training and development, and then support. So it's that combination.
Yeah, that's good. I don't think people realize how much a change management includes. So that's a good definition. Thanks so much for that. So tell us, why did you write your book, Ready, Set, Change?
Well, honestly, I didn't set out to write a book. I set out to create a system that would help project management professionals that I work with all the time, because I'm also a PMP. I wanted to help project management professionals understand change management and how to apply it to a project. So many times, Diane, I would be the sole change management resource person for an entire PMO. And there might be 8 or 9 or 15 projects going on. And I couldn't be at every single project meeting because it was literally impossible. So I thought, how can I help the my project management colleagues to understand change management in a way that would make it easy for them to implement it, so that they could do it and I could help if they were stuck, but they would be able to remember and do it. And one of the things that I found was that so many of the change management models or frameworks were extremely complicated with, hundreds of templates and all sorts of phases and different acronyms. And I thought, gosh, this is really tricky. So I thought about what I did and I started to streamline my work, and I created, took the word ready, because we were always asking, are people ready? Is everybody ready to go live? And I took that word ready and I used it as an acronym to describe the 5-step framework that I think people need to follow to be able to be successful with change.
So why do you think leaders and other professionals should use this approach to implement change in their organizations?
It's important to have an approach. It's important to have a plan when you're implementing change, because if you're sporadic, or if you start just like in the middle somewhere and you think, well, we'll just send an email to everybody. That's what most people think of communication. We'll send everybody an email. They'll understand. When we do things that way, people really suffer from this disorganized, unplanned approach to change. What people really love is they love to understand what's coming next. We all like to know what's ahead. We don't like to just dive in and not have any sense of where we're going. And that's what the Ready framework that I put together kind of illuminates for people, is how this is going to happen. So I had mentioned that I had created it as an acronym. So R stands for relevant and relatable. And that's where we are crafting the message of the change in a relevant and relatable way. We have to have a story for people to understand why we're changing. And so it's on the leaders, it's on the project managers, and it's on the change management team, if there's a resource, to create this story that's relevant and relatable to those people who are going through the change so they know what's coming.
Yeah, that's a great idea, isn't it?
It is.
You mentioned a while ago that there are a lot of other models out there, like Lewin's freeze, unfreeze, refreeze, and John Cotter's 8-step model, the more modern one. Do you think these models are out of step these days, and how is yours different?
I have to say that I studied Lewin and Cotter. In fact, I'm a huge fan of John Cotter, and I've here's where I see the difference. Is that with Lewin, yes, the freeze, unfreeze, freeze is a good approach, except right now in this environment, I feel like we're all in slush constantly. I mean, there is no freeze, right? We're using agile project management. We're using, iterative applications all over the place. So there's not a real freeze period of time anymore. It's kind of always evolving. So we're kind of always in that state of slush. And with Cotter, I totally love John Cotter and understand creating the sense of urgency and the burning platform. But one of the things that I feel is a little bit tricky these days is that people can't remember 8 things. I mean, they can remember 5 things if it's tied to something easy to remember, but remembering 8 things, like, okay, create a sense of urgency, right? Build a coalition. What's number 3? So I want to make sure that I have an easy to remember, easy to apply model.
Yeah, you bring, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's not a criticism to either one of them.
Yeah, I understand. You just made me think of something when you talked about these models and what the world is going through today and what it's going to come to when this is technically over. Do you think it's better for someone to hire you on a retainer because, and change management experts like you, because of what we're continuing to go through, and when it gets toward closure, and even after it gets back to normal, there is still going to be a lot of things that people are going to have to get used to. What would be your take on someone bringing you into their organization at this time?
I think that's a smart idea. I know that I worked with an insurance company about 1.5 years ago that did just that, because we were going through a major change, and this was before the pandemic, where we moved from a generalist model. They had offices in 13 states. Every office had an HR generalist, several of them, and we moved into an HR partner model. So, then we had our HR partners and we had centers of excellence, and it was an entirely different structure. And while I was advising them and working with them during the initial implementation, I stayed on retainer afterward to assist with all sorts of strategy questions that came up, or immediate needs, and then sometimes our long-term thinking about what were we going to move toward next. So I think it's great to have somebody available to advise and to give perspective, because one of the really difficult things I think about being in an organization is the fact that we lose our perspective so quickly. We're just kind of encompassed in the organization and in the issues ahead of us and the people around us, and we can't always get our head clear to be able to see out over the horizon and figure out what to do next.
Yeah, excellent point. Can you compare change management and project management for us?
Yes. Well, since I'm both, I feel like I have a good comparison. So project management is a discipline where we are taking a project, from the charter, from initiation, and moving through a number of stages, and we are then completing the project. We get to the deadline that we set with our sponsors. We complete our project, we close down the project, and we go on to the next thing. And project management tends to be very involved in the delivery of the technology, the delivery of the solution, right? Whatever that solution is, project management is the group that tends to be bringing that technical solution along, developing it and implementing it, and then closing down the project. Change management is similar, but different. We also have 5 steps, and we have a standard for change management, which if anybody is interested, you can download it for free at acmpglobal.org. But our standard for change management has, evaluate the change impact and organizational readiness, formulate the change strategy, develop the change management plan, execute the change management plan, and then complete the change management plan and close. So it's similar to project management, but the difference of it is that we are delivering the people. So project management is delivering the technology, and change management is delivering the people. And that's the difference. And that's what I think is important to share, because the organizational change management piece is all the things that people need to have to be able to move through that change successfully and to get to the other side, which is the future state, and also to make sure that we are getting them to the benefit of the change.
Right. And unfortunately, sometimes people are left out of change.
Yes, that happens. Yes.
Yeah. Why do you think people dislike change so much?
It's funny. I mean, people, I don't know if it's the word is dislike, it's just uncomfortable to go through any type of change. And even positive change is uncomfortable. So if you think about, positive events in our lives, right? Maybe a marriage, there's a period of discomfort as 2 people have to suddenly really adjust to that scenario. A new family member or a new pet, right? There's a period of discomfort as old routines are disrupted and new ones are built. I think much of what we do is built on routine and habit, and we don't like having to go through that discomfort of creating a new routine or habit. And so that's why we tend to not like change.
Mm. And that brings up another interesting point. Why do you think that managers and executives fail to acknowledge that and fail to prepare for change?
Well, honestly, there's a couple of reasons. One is that people don't always like to have to acknowledge that they're going to be uncomfortable, right? Like, we don't want to say it. Sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, sometimes I'm on the sunny side of things, like, oh, it's not so bad, it's going to be okay. And that's a lack of acknowledgement, right? That's not acknowledging the pain we're going to go through to get to the better place. And I think also many times managers are just kind of immersed in this bubble of the work that's around them all the time. And they don't recognize that the people who report to them don't have all of the information they have. So they kind of make this mistaken assumption that these people must know what's happening. And so I don't really need to spend a lot of time talking about it. And yet we know through surveys and other research that people trust their supervisors and managers and what they say more than any other source at work. And so you can have your change management or your project management team, your sponsor, leading a parade saying change is coming, here it is, it's going to be like this. And if the manager doesn't talk about it, it really doesn't seem to resonate with the employees. So we need managers and supervisors to step up and say, hey, do you know this is happening? Do you understand how this will impact you? It's not going to be easy, and just be really transparent with that.
Excellent point. Excellent point. April, what do you think that people could learn from becoming a certified professional change or a certified change management professional?
I just love the fact that the Association of Change Management Professionals has a certification now. It came out in 2016. And I have to tell you, it took from 2016 to 2020 to get to 1,000 people, but we anticipate that there will be 1,000 more next year. So it's like exponentially growing in terms of popularity, and also in terms of seeing it in job postings. People are really looking for people who have this certification. So Certified Change Management Professional is a designation that you receive from the Association of Change Management Professionals. And it really it's really to kind of anoint or to designate those who are experienced and excellent at change management. And so experienced, you have to have a bachelor's degree, or if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you have to have like 6 years of change management experience. And then you have to write essays for your exam. There's like a reference section where you have to describe different scenarios. And then there's a 150 question test, very much like the PMP exam. And when you pass that test, you can then be certified. You also have to have training from either a qualified education provider or something within the past 7 years that is accepted by ACMP. And it's been my honor to be accepted this year as a qualified education provider. So now I'm not only a CCMP, but I'm also teaching other people, and I have a program to help people become CCMPs, and I'm really excited when they do. I had somebody become a CCMP last Friday, so I'm quite thrilled.
Excellent, and congratulations. So, April, a lot of people poo-poo certifications, but this sounds like it's really a robust, when you get it, you've accomplished something. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what brought about such passion for you around change management?
I started out as a trainer, and I loved teaching people. I was a college professor and then became a trainer for a corporate group. And then I discovered change management because I was hired to help, to be a change management lead for a big ERP project about 25 years ago, enterprise resource planning project at a major university. And I loved the variety. I loved the fact that I could do training, but I also love, being very analytical and thinking through, a business process and how should we design this business process to work better with this system. And I loved that part of it in providing, workshops and information to our stakeholders. I love conducting stakeholder assessments and facilitating sessions with them. And then I absolutely love communication planning and thinking about how do we send the message out in a way that makes sense to people. So all of those things are combined in change management, and that's it's a perfect fit for my personality, I have to say.
Well, I was going to say, as you were talking, I said, wow, this fits all of her talents. This is great. So now let's get serious here for a minute. You have 6 children. Did you know what was causing that? And you also say you're an excellent parallel parker. How are they related?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a good question. I've never actually thought about how are they related to each other. Well, I have 3 daughters, and then I married into 3 other children. So we were actually the Brady Bunch. So that was quite thrilling. I was the mom in the middle and the 3 girls on the side, and I had 2 boys and another daughter on the other side. And they're all wonderful, and they're all in their mid-20s. Well, the youngest is 19 now. And so we're just in a state of continual flux as like jobs and relationships in college, and everything just seems to be kind of shifting every day, if you will. Even though the youngest one, we've got her, she moved into an apartment in the last couple of weeks. So that's been really exciting. I'm an excellent parallel parker because I lived in Chicago for 8 years, and I had this much of a parking space, and my car was this big. And so every morning and afternoon when I'd have to park and repark and get out and look and see, oh man, I'm 2 feet from the curb and have to repark, I became a really good parallel parker. But I have to tell you, it taught me about the power of repetition, just repeating that action over and over and over again. And now, I'm in Michigan, which we don't have like tremendous parking issues like we do in Chicago. And my kids can't believe how I can just whoop, whoop, and I'm in a spot, and they just look at me like, how did you do that? So it's my secret talent.
April, how do you prefer that people get in touch with you?
Oh, I love to connect on LinkedIn. I'm the only April Callis-Birchmeier on LinkedIn. And I'm really easy to find on email. I'm april@springboard-consult.com. So I'd love to get in touch.
And your book is on Amazon and your website, or how can people get your book?
Yes, it's on Amazon. It's Ready, Set, Change, Simplify and Accelerate Organizational Change. And the thing that I did when I wrote the book, I was channeling my inner Patrick Lenzacone and wrote it as a narrative, as a story, and then also as a how-to guide throughout the book. So I enjoyed that process. I enjoyed my characters, and it made it a lot more fun for me. And I've had a lot of people say they really enjoy the book because the characters kind of keep pulling them through the book when they feel like they're tempted to say, "Oh, this is enough," and put it down. So,
April, you've really brought some great information for organizations to use when they consider change, and certainly it is needed today. And I really appreciate the tips and the explanations that you've brought to the audience, and I'm sure they'll appreciate it as well.
well, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed this, Diane.
Thank you. Me too. Thank you for watching Business Notes. We've been speaking with April Callis-Birchmeier, change management expert, best-selling author, mother of 6, and expert parallel parker. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, bringing you business ideas you can bank on.